Well, hi there. I am here today with what is quite possibly the strangest of all tortoises, the pancake tortoise. And the thing about pancake tortoises is they look just like any other tortoise. They got that same tortoise face. They walk on their toes like a proper tortoise. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we got a video just for you. They are a great tortoise. And anybody who knows tortoises will tell you that tortoises always have a big domed shell. That's one of the ways you can tell it's a tortoise. Unless it doesn't. Pancake tortoise. This pancake tortoise comes to us from Animal Ark in Orem, Utah, which is one of those truly great pet stores. And they do ship nationwide, so I strongly recommend them no matter where you are, at least in the continental United States. They have really great reptiles and they do a wonderful job, so check them out. Overall, we give the pancake tortoise a score of 3.4 out of 5. And that, of course, will come down to our 5 categories, which are handleability, care, hardiness, availability, and upfront costs. When it comes to handleability, we give the pancake tortoise a score of 4 out of 5. Honestly, I mean, animals don't get any easier to handle than this. Victory. I am now handling a pancake tortoise. They're super easy to handle and they're durable. Maybe they're much squishier though than really almost any other turtle, excluding probably the soft-shelled turtles. And the reason that they're so squishy is because they don't use their shell as their primary defense. Their primary defense from predation is that they wedge themselves between rocks. And so by being a little bit squishy, they can get themselves wedged in there a lot better. Makes the shell, though, a little bit soft to feel, almost like a soft-shelled crab or something like that. A little unnerving because you're not used to being able to squish a turtle. So you do have to be a little more careful with them than most turtles, but still, they're pretty durable little guys. Tortoises are tanks. The only real concern while handling a pancake tortoise is that you will drop it. And it's not like it's gonna worm or squirm away from you in any way. I mean, look at this. I mean, animals don't get any easier to handle than this. It would just be if you got careless and dropped it. They're also extremely unlikely to try to bite you or anything. And like any turtle, I mean, if you're holding it back here on its shell, even if he was super motivated to bite you, he's not going to be able to reach back there. Really, the only turtles that can get you very far back are the soft-shelled turtles and common snapping turtles. Definitely not a concern with a pancake tortoise. So again, don't drop them. That is the case for all reptiles, but it's especially true for turtles just because they can actually crack open, and that's horrible. Really, the only downside to handling them is just that it's not very fun. I mean, you can pick them up, but it's about as far as this goes. They won't really hold on to you. You just support them and let them feel like Superman for a minute. When it comes to care, we give the pancake tortoise a score of 4 out of 5. Nothing about their care is really all that challenging. Probably the worst thing about it is just that they live a very long time, so you'll be doing this for a while. They do need to eat a variety of different greens, and also like grass hay. Dry grasses actually make up a large percentage of their wild diet, so hay is going to be kind of the staple, but you'll supplement that with all kinds of other greens like collard greens, mustard greens, dandelion greens. Try to keep things like kale to a minimum as it can bind calcium, and then just be careful about anything else. I wouldn't recommend using things like iceberg lettuce. A lot of people like to feed tortoises lettuce, and that's really not the best thing to be feeding them. They'll also do pretty well on a supplement of commercially available tortoise diets, though I wouldn't recommend that as their primary diet. On top of that, you'll want to offer calcium and vitamin supplements. We'll have links to all these things down in the description. They definitely need a shallow water bowl that they can get into and soak a little bit, but make sure it's not so deep that they can't get out easily. You don't want your tortoise to get stranded in there. Tortoises can swim, but they're not going to want to do this long term, and you could definitely have some problems if they can't get out of that water bowl. So make sure it's a water bowl that's shallow and easy for them to exit. The fact that these guys need a substrate that'll hold a little bit of moisture and that they can burrow into, and that they, tortoises tend to use the bathroom frequently. it makes these guys actually a really excellent candidate for bioactive. We've got one video already on how to build a bioactive enclosure, but mostly the most important thing that you're going to have in there are going to be things like isopods and springtails that'll help clean up the mess that your tortoise leaves behind. And so doing a bioactive enclosure with these guys can be really excellent, and they're not even going to eat your little tank helpers, so everybody wins. When it comes to hardiness, we give the Pancake Tortoise a score of 5 out of 5. They're not bulletproof, nothing is, but when it comes to hardiness, it's very difficult to beat a tortoise. Captive bred Pancake Tortoises should be, at least once established, as solid as any reptile can be. Even imports seem to do pretty well, and that's saying a lot. Like I said, in general, tortoises are just really tough animals, so as long as you're providing them with food, water, and appropriate temperatures, they're probably going to do great. And unfortunately, a lot of times with tortoises, this manifests itself in that people don't take very good care of them because you don't have to and they'll stay alive. But don't do that. You know, treat your tortoises well and they will do really well for you. When it comes to availability, we give the Pancake Tortoise a score of 2 out of 5. Even wild caught Pancake Tortoises are not very common, and captive bred are very rare. They're very rare because not that many people keep and breed Pancake Tortoises, and they only lay like 2 to 5 eggs a year, which is the fewest of any turtle I know about, at least right now. That is a really low reproductive rate for a turtle of any kind, and really for any reptile. And they're very cool, very desirable, very reasonable pets in all other ways, so people really want them, and it's going to be a challenge to find one. When it comes to upfront costs, we give them a score of 2 out of 5. You're going to need an enclosure for them. Tortoises will make use of space, so the bigger the better, but compared to something like a sulcata tortoise or any of your larger tortoises, this is not going to be that large of an enclosure. At least it doesn't have to be. They would love it if it was. You're going to need UVA heat lamps and UVB ultraviolet lamps that are very important for their proper development. You're also going to need a substrate that'll hold some humidity and into which they can burrow, because tortoises often like to burrow. Though, one of the big things you're going to need with these guys are going to be rocks, or simulated rock caves that they can wedge themselves into. And one key with this is just to make sure that when you construct this, that even if they get in there and wedge themselves in there, they're pretty strong little guys, just make sure that they cannot cause that rock formation to collapse on them, because that would be a way that you could lose your Pancake Tortoise. You'll need a shallow water bowl that's large enough for them to soak in, and once again, links to all these things are down in the description. Because they're not very common and they're really cool, they're extremely expensive. I mean, there are things that are a lot more expensive, but these are going to be several $100s most places that you'll get them, and that's a lot of money for a little tortoise. And that is why we give the Pancake Tortoise an overall score of 3.4 out of 5. As you can see, this is an excellent pet tortoise. I mean, you know, it's roughly the size of a Russian tortoise, which makes it one of the easiest tortoises in the world to take care of. And then on top of that, it's one of the most unusual tortoises anyone will ever see. People will always ask you questions about your little flat tortoise. What is going on there? And they are just such special little animals. If you are looking for a tiny, awesome tortoise and money is no object for you, then the Pancake Tortoise may be the best pet turtle, possibly the best pet reptile you could possibly get. As always, like and subscribe, and we hope to see you real soon. And be sure to check out our Patreon! Tortoise. What the? Where did he go? Oh, there you are. Oh, there you are, Peter.
Okay, let's go to our hop and get some pancakes. Oh, we got one!
Yeah, they deliver. Be the most expensive pancake maybe that's ever been eaten. Don't do it.
I was holding that in.
I appreciate you. Look at that.
Thank you.